Hi, this is my review of the Drow Seedy virtual box set by 01 Games. This contains a set of maps that you can use in any campaign featuring the Drow, the Dark Elves. So this is going to be really useful for Dungeons and Dragons, for example, any edition of Dungeons and Dragons, especially if you play in the Forgotten Realms, in my opinion. But you could also use it in any role-playing game, featuring any underground race, or any sort of adventure featuring sites in a labyrinth of caverns and such. So it's highly flexible. You could even use it in sci-fi games as well. You will only need to adapt a few things, maybe you're exploring some strange planet. I'm going to talk about the contents and the quality as I go further on with the review. First, we have the maps of the Drow Seedy. This is the main area. It's divided by sections. You have the Acropolis, the Merchant's Heaven, the farmlands, the detention area, the Shadow Sorcerer domain, the merchant houses, the noble houses, the slice, and the forest of stalactites. Everything is pretty clear for you to see. And as expected of 01 Games, you have the Rule the Dungeon button that allows you to turn the field on and off. You can also turn the text on and off as well. You also have a compass or a north mark in all of the different maps, so you can set the orientation however you like. You also have a button allowing you to print the north mark on all of the maps, and two buttons to allow you to print all of the blue pages or just the black and white pages. I really like it how they divided all of the sections by tones of color and by numbers. So it's going to be really easy for you to organize the different encounters and events in any sort of adventure and campaign. Each of the sections of the Drow Seedy main map is displayed in its own page. So you have, for example, the northwest section, and then you have the north area or the northeast, and all of those places have different sites within that section. So you have, for example, in the northwest we have the fortress of the Shadow Sorcerer, or the farm fields, the way of the shadows, the black pillar. In the north area we have places such as the market, Goblin's Square, the column, and the noble houses. If we check out the northeast section, we have the square of the 5 houses. We also have the way of the 5 houses nearby, of course, and the Bugbear's Square. Then, if we go to the southwest, we have more farm fields, the Lake of Infinite Darkness, and Dwergar's Bridge. On the south section we have the Ring of Spiders, the Bay of Avalets, and the Stone Forest. We also have on the southeast the Tower of High Sorcery and the Temple of the Spider Queen. This is a must-have in the Drow Seedy. Now this is great because the architecture and the names and the overall layout are going to get your creative juices flowing. You're going to be thinking of the next adventure or set of encounters within the different sections of the city. And at the end of each of these map booklets, you have a sheet giving you different names of the particular section that you are exploring or taking a look at, such as, for example, in this Drow Seedy map, we have the Acropolis, the Merchant's Heaven, the Merchant's Houses, everything perfectly organized for you to make some notes or short descriptions. Really handy for the game master when he is putting together some adventures, perhaps even rushed when somebody is just coming to play. You can make some encounters, make some short notes quickly. Something that I like of the different map booklets is that they come with a little backstory of each of the sites and the Drow Seedy itself. Now let's move on to the Military Academy. This is where the Drow become lethal weapons. They train in all sorts of forms of combat. That is all of the males, because women are on the nobility side of things. As many of you know, a lot of Drow cultures in fantasy role-playing games, they are basically matriarchies. So in this military academy, you have the layout of the entire training grounds. It's also important to note that each of these booklets come with the legend, that is the symbols used in all of the different maps. And you have the master control panel, where you can change the square grid to a hex grid, or you could remove the grid if you want to. You can also switch the doors on and off, the furniture as well, and the text. You could also turn it all off as well. So, in the case of this military academy, it's also divided by sections. So you can take a closer look at, for example, the ground floor on the west area. You can see the entire layout. This is important not only, for example, if your player characters are Drow training. Maybe your party of adventurers have infiltrated this Drow city and they are moving around, trying to find the perfect vantage point to see what is going on. You also have the east section of the ground floor. As you can see, this is probably where strategies and advanced tactics are given to the students in the academy. You also have the first floor. It's a circular layout, as you can appreciate. Then we have the second floor. This could also be some places to hide some magical items. Maybe the player characters are looking for a specific object that was stolen by one of the academy's students. We also have other places that feel a bit more cramped, like the underground floor. Maybe you could find some weapons or supplies here. All of the different sections of the ground floor. So this entire military academy is perfectly detailed, not only for some training exercises if you are part of the Drow City, but also if the player characters are assaulting this particular city. This could be an interesting place for some combat encounters, to find some allies perhaps. Drow are quite treacherous, and if it's at their convenience, they could actually assist you against a rival noble house. And then we have an entire Drow House, in this case, House Darlaxlo. Even though the name is specific, this could be used to give you a general idea of how a Drow House in any Drow city can be built. In this case, 6 huge stalactites are part of the architecture of House Darlaxlo. So as you can see from the layout, it's also divided by sections. First we have the ground floor. It's interesting to see how all of these places are connected, and perhaps you could set up some obstacles as the player characters try to move from one stalactite to the others. With so many crates and barrels and places to store magical items and weapons, the player characters will probably feel tempted to sneak around and see what they get their hands on. However, you could lay some magical glyphs and traps, perhaps some alarms that will be quite unnerving to suddenly have all of the members of House Darlaxlo searching for your characters. If you wanted to have like a Metal Gear Solid type of mission, you could do that with this House Darlaxlo. All of the layout is quite clear, with the first floor, with all of the beds, different chairs and tables. There's also the second floor. Maybe the player characters have to rescue someone that was captured and taken to this House Darlaxlo. As you go up to the third floor, you will notice that some stalactites are taller than others. You could have some vertigo inserted into the adventure. Perhaps the characters have to penetrate any of these stalactites from the outside. Maybe they will have to climb. So the player characters will have to worry about not being spotted by the enemy, but also not falling down from that height. We also have the dungeon of House Darlaxlo. If the player characters are captured, maybe they will be taken here. and they will have to plan their escape, taking down some Drow guards as they make their exit. And then we have the marketplace. I cannot stress enough how important a marketplace is in a potentially hostile underground city such as the Drow Seedy. In Underdark type of adventures and campaigns, it's not easy to get supplies. If you have some like underground specialist like an underground ranger or spelunker or such, you will be able to gain some food and some gear and provisions made out of the things that you encounter in those underground environments. But for the most part, you're going to need to replenish your stock of magical items, potions, +1 arrows and such. So getting into these marketplace areas is going to be quite a challenge. Maybe you could use the bard of the group or the rogue or thief and try to disguise yourself as an inhabitant of the Drow Seedy. But other times you will also have to resort to moving around and stealthily taking some goods from different storage houses and areas where the inhabitants of Drow Seedy barter and make business. So all of these different plans and maps have all of those detailed places. You can see the connections between the different areas and rooms. It's going to be quite exciting to navigate this marketplace and try to get into those crates, some things out of those bags, or maybe through the use of a spell such as polymorph to try to pretend that you are a monster living in the Drow Seedy or elsewhere and you have just come to this underground marketplace to sell your stuff and get some new things. Because maybe the player characters have some things from the surface or the world above, and they could be quite useful or much sought after by the inhabitants of the Drow Seedy, and you could sell them for a lot more than, for example, if you were to sell them in a town or a city above the Drow Seedy, it wouldn't be as profitable to do so. So with these maps of the marketplace, you can have many types of encounters while buying, selling, or even stealing different items. We also have an entire full color map of the Drow Seedy. This is great to use as a handout for the player characters. Maybe they find this map in the backpack or satchel of a group of Drow raiders, and that's how they find out about Drow Seedy. You can see all of the different sections, and this full color map will surely give the player characters an edge or an advantage when in their fight against the Drow or any other sort of underground citizen or dweller that has taken over this Drow Seedy. Like in certain adventures, I'm not going to give the title or the name to avoid spoilers, but there is a very cool Drow adventure, like a mini campaign, where a group of demons and other beings have taken over an entire section of the Drow Seedy. So this map is going to be quite useful for player characters to move around, perhaps if they want to go unnoticed. And then we have the layout of the Temple of the Spider Queen. This has Loth written all over it. Really, these maps need to be used in a Dungeons and Dragons type of campaign. As you can see, well, in my particular case, I think that this temple looks really disturbing, and that's really awesome. That is, it's shaped like a spider. So unless the player characters belong to the Temple of the Spider Queen, or unless they are, for example, maybe they are druids that handle all sorts of vermin, they are going to be somewhat uneasy when moving around the different corridors. Look how cool, it's like as if all of the different legs are corridors that lead between the different rooms, and you can see the abdomen representing a sort of chamber. You can see all of the different furniture and the doors. So it's like moving inside the body of a giant spider. And the player characters will have to go in here. Maybe they are looking for some powerful spells, some scrolls or books. Or maybe they were sent out to assassinate a member of this insidious temple. I really like the map. I think it's going to be really flexible. You could use it in many sort of campaigns where spiders are featured as perhaps as some sort of source of divine or profane power. You never know how you can use a spider-shaped temple map. And then we have the maps of the Tower of High Sorcery. This place looks really risky. I can already imagine the group of player characters moving around, and they never know if they're going to trigger some sort of glyph or magical trap. But this could also be a source of great power of arcane knowledge. Many sorcerers and wizards, or even magi, are going to want to infiltrate this place just to see what they can get their hands on. But they should also be really careful, because this tower is probably filled with powerful wizards and sorcerers. Probably some of the most skilled members of the Drow Seedy are waiting for them here. So this place could actually be a death trap. And if you are playing as a party of Drow mages, for example, you could have some twisted version of Harry Potter in this Tower of High Sorcery. So what do I think of this Drow City virtual box set? I really like it, and I think that it's more flexible than it first appears to be. Because you could be thinking, well, this is only going to be useful in Drow themed adventures or campaigns. But you can take this set of caverns and structures and use them in any sort of underground environment. If you're using mind flayers or troglodytes or some other hidden race in any underground setting, this could represent an ancient city or any sort of complex or adventure site that has enough mystery, enough opportunities to obtain lore and items, and to have some exciting battles against the inhabitants of the city. But you could also be members of this underground metropolis. Maybe you belong to one of the races of the Underdark. You could have an entire campaign based around this city, and you could use this site as a place to obtain gear and information and allies and henchmen. So there are many ways in which you can use the Drow City, and thanks to the Rule the Dungeon button that appears in all of the different virtual box sets of 01 games, it's going to be quite useful and easy to modify all of the different sections, remove furnitures and doors, and draw your own through digital or physical means. So I highly recommend that you get the Drow City virtual box set. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.